Shalom, everyone. Chag Samayach. I just wanted to give some thoughts, some ideas that I was thinking about, that I was studying over the last few days, to appreciate Sukkot and the process of Shuvah, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, leading up to Sukkot. And of course, Sukkot is the culmination of a very powerful spiritual process that really began Rosh Hashanah. You can even argue even before on Rosh Chodesh Elul. And I believe that if utilized properly, the benefits of this process can really ensure that our spiritual growth with Hashem for the entire year remains strong and steady. And there's a concept in Kabbalah, which I wanted to talk about as an introduction to these ideas, about kelim for bracha, vessels for blessings. It's based on the story in Sefer Melachim Bet of Elisha and the widow who's very poor and needs money desperately. So Elisha tells her to gather up as many vessels as possible and pour the oil into the vessels, and miraculously it kept filling up with oil. And the more vessels she had, the more bracha she was able to have of the oil. So the idea is in Kabbalah that there needs to be a vessel to contain bracha, right? Or else it's wasted. If there's no vessel to contain the bracha, it's just gone. For example, if I go fill up my car with gas, and the tank can only contain a certain amount of gallons of gas, and if I keep pouring gas beyond the volume of gasoline that my tank can contain, so it will start leaking out and pouring onto the ground, wasted. So the idea is that a lot of people, they daven for specific blessings, right? For example, marrying a particular guy, getting into a certain college program, getting a certain job, money, salary. But if you don't have the vessels to contain the bracha, contain the specific blessing that you're asking for, then it won't work. And there's nothing to receive it. Just an example, there are many students in the past who've displayed a certain cognitive dissonance regarding the type of guy they want to marry. And they're dreaming about a certain guy without really asking themselves if they're the type of girl that guy is dreaming about. The guy of their dreams, is he dreaming about them? So in order to have a specific blessing, you need to have or be the vessel to contain it. Now, it's a known phenomenon that people who win the lottery, it's very common that within a couple of years they squander their newfound wealth and become poor once again. So it's certainly a blessing to win the lottery. No one would argue that it isn't. But if you lack the kli to contain the wealth, then the blessing is wasted and you squander it. If you're not ready, if you can't be that vessel to have that bracha, then the bracha is like the gasoline pouring onto the floor. And the same is true in the spiritual world, right? If, for example, if a rabbi is giving a shiur, a beautiful, wonderful shiur, very deep understandings of Torah, and you can see in the same shiur one student that could be blown away, unbelievable, so inspired, and in the very same shiur, another student who's completely unmoved and bored out of her mind, picking her split ends. So the former student has the kelim to take that message of the shiur, and the latter lacks the ability to get anything out of the shiur because she lacks the kli to do so. I think one of the power of the year in Israel is that many students, that they're 18 years old, finally have the kelim to take in the power of the experience of the year in Israel. Whereas if they came maybe 2 years earlier, they wouldn't. I was speaking to, we're doing a trip to Poland, Bezrat Hashem, this year, and I was speaking to Tzvi Sperber, one of the head tour guides, and he says that, 16-year-olds, they can't do it. They can't cope. They don't have the vessels for it. Once you're 18, so yeah, then you do. So according to our great mystics, on Rosh Hashanah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us a matnat chinam, a free, undeserved gift of divine light, the special light that radiates down into our world right from above. And there's a principle in Chazal that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't take back what he gives. Therefore, even if we lack the kelim to receive this amazing divine light from Rosh Hashanah, the light stays with us. It's there in our world and ready to be received when we are ready for it, when we are ready to absorb it, when we are ready to take it in to receive it. And through the process of tshuva meira, and ultimately, hopefully, tshuva mi'ahava, then we get to expand our kelim, or even create new kelim, to receive this light, to take in this new level of bracha and insight and understanding and connection. And on Yom Kippur, right? After receiving this light, we examine, right? That's the Tshuva Yom Kippur process, the Tzuma Shel Hayom, the power of the day of Yom Kippur, where we clean our vessels, right? We examine our kelim. Because sometimes, unfortunately, our kelim get a little bit rusty, either from disuse or abandonment. And sometimes our kelim get dirty from putting things into the kelim that don't belong. But the Tzuma Shel Hayom, right? Yom Kippur is like the spiritual car wash. You just go through the day, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu just cleans it up, cleans our kelim, so they're ready to take in all the bracha in its entirety. And then almost immediately after Yom Kippur, it's very interesting, right after Yom Kippur, in fact, there's a minhag, right after Yom Kippur, you come back, the first thing you do, maybe even before you eat, is start building your Sukkot. Right after Yom Kippur is Sukkot. And Sukkot isn't about tefillah or tshuva. It's about receiving the light. It's not receiving the light or cleaning the kelim. It's about building and expanding our kelim to fill them to the brim with the brachot of the new year. Right? That's the culmination of the process of tshuva. Right after is the building of the sukkah. It's about action. We build a sukkah. We shake a lulav. We take the light of Rosh Hashanah and bring it into the world and make it real, make it tangible. After Yom Kippur, despite feeling weak from the fast, I'm sure that you can relate. We feel exhilarated. We feel so excited. People are dancing. After a whole day of fasting, not eating, not drinking, we're dancing because we are exhilarated. We feel purified. We feel holy. And we are ready to now make the changes that we know are necessary and that we promised to make throughout the day of Yom Kippur. But there's this, in the back of our minds, a lingering doubt. We're nervous. We're afraid. We're scared. Is it going to happen? Are we going to follow it through? We're afraid that these New Year's resolutions that we're making will fall away into our, unfortunately, growing pile of unfulfilled promises and wasted potential. And that is why Sukkot follows Yom Kippur so closely, so we can take our inspiration and the motivation from the Aseret Yemei Tshuva and bring it into the world. We take the intangible spirituality, inspiration, and purity of Aseret Yemei Tshuva, and we make it tangible. We bring the Kedusha into the mundane. In Kabbalistic terms, we fill our kelim. Now, according to our mystical tradition, during Aseret Yemei Tshuva, we create new kelim. But when we create new kelim, like many things that are new, they're fragile. They can easily get broken, right? And especially if you take something that's very fragile, so maybe flimsy, or something that's very, very expensive and delicate, right? Such as, let's say, certain types of glass, right? So if you fill them up to its capacity, it can explode, right? It can, under the pressure of the contents, it could burst. However, on Sukkot, right, our actions create a stronger and more durable kli. Now, let me explain what I mean. It's human nature that whenever we're inspired, it's fleeting. Motivation, inspiration, they wane, they don't last. It's hard to maintain that level of inspiration. Right? It's one thing to get up to the mountain, but how do you stay there? How do you stay on that elevated level? How do you stay on the level that you were at the end of an Ne'ilah? How do you get back to that level or remain in that level that you when you left Shana Aleph or Shana Bet? How do you maintain that? How many times have we said to ourselves over the years, okay, now I'm going to start my diet. Okay, starting tomorrow, I'm exercising every day. Okay, starting this week, I'm going to go to the weekly Parsha Shiur. And we start off, first week, if we're lucky, we start off. The second week, we're going strong. Then, you miss 1 week, and then you miss another week, and we're lucky if we can get that far. But we run out of steam. And taking the inspiration and making it into something tangible ensures that our brachot don't get wasted and that our brachot don't, metaphorically, spring a leak. And that's Sukkot. Sukkot is taking the inspiration, motivation of Aseret Yemei Tshuva and making it durable. It's building a durable home for our inspiration so that it lasts. Why is Yom Kippur on the 9th of Tishrei? The Day of Atonement is on the 9th because that's when we receive the second Luchot, the Luchot Shniyot. On Shavuot, we commemorate the Luchot Rishonot, the first Luchot. Then on Yom Kippur, we receive the second set of Luchot. But do you remember what happened to the first Luchot? They broke. Right? Moshe broke them. They were fragile. And how could something from Hashem break? How could the Luchot break so easily? Wouldn't Hashem made it out of titanium? Wouldn't it made it out of like a an unbreakable type of material of the luchot. But it's interesting, that's the second luchot which are the ones that last. And I was wondering why. And I think it's the answer because Hashem gave us the first luchot as a gift, matna chinam, an undeserved gift. And it was written by Hashem. It was of Hashem. It was the holiest of the holies. But the second luchot was written by man. And it had to be earned. It was written by us, by Moshe Rabbeinu. Yet according to a certain school of thought, you'd think the first luchot were on the higher level, but according to one approach, the second luchot were in fact of a higher kedusha, even higher than the first. And that's what made them durable. They were unbreakable. Why? Because it was from our efforts. It was from our amelut. Something that you work at is something that is much more lasting than something that is just given to you as a gift. Matan Torah, we know, is compared to a wedding. And so is Yom Kippur. When a chatan and kala marry, so right before the day of their wedding, they say the mincha of Erev Yom Kippur. Now, most people think that they do this because getting married is like a Yom Kippur, right? They're forgiven for their sins. The chatan wears a kittel. They fast the day of the wedding. But I think maybe it's the reverse. Maybe we say the mincha of a chatan and kala on Erev Yom Kippur because Yom Kippur is like a wedding. And perhaps that's why the Mishnah teaches that Yom Kippur is one of the happiest days of the entire year. Because in the afternoon of Yom Kippur, all the single ladies would dance in a circle, and the boys would come and check them out, and shidduchim would be made. Beautiful. And at the end of Yom Kippur, we have Ne'ilah. Right? Ne'ilah is from the word lin'ol, to lock. And I don't remember what the source was, but I read a source that says Ne'ilah maybe is from Ne'ilah, to lock the door. That right after the chuppah of Yom Kippur, we go into the yichud room. Right? We're sealed in the yichud room. And that's Ne'ilah. And if Yom Kippur is the wedding and Ne'ilah is the yichud room, then the Sukkot is the Sheva Brachot. The Gemara teaches that Moshe made a takana of Sheva Brachot. Because on the day of the wedding, the chatan and kala, everything revolves around them. Everything's focused on them. They are the melech and the malka. And the next day, they are no longer the melech and the malka. They just revert to being regular people. And that's challenging. It's hard to go from someone where everyone's revolving around you, you're the focus of everyone's attention, to being nothing. So therefore, Moshe, out of sensitivity, was made a decree that we have Sheva Brachot, to ease them back into the world. So we take the incredible joy and love felt at the chuppah and the yichud room, and we bring it into the mundane. We bring it back into the world. We build a sukkah together. We build a life together. And that is the greatest simcha. That's Zman Simchatenu. When you could take that high level of love and joy of a wedding and bring it into the real world, that's Zman Simchatenu. Take the kedusha of the Seri Tshuva and bring it into your life on a daily basis in a real, tangible way, that's Zman Simchatenu. And of course, this is a great lesson for the entire year. Whenever we experience moments of great inspiration that unfortunately are inherently fleeting, we need to make them tangible and express them tangibly. And the way we can do this is to take something that inspires you, and if you're inspired, then add a mitzvah to your repertoire. Start doing something you weren't doing before. Right? Say, or maybe even take a mitzvah that you were already doing and enhance it. Right? Hidur mitzvah zekeli van behu. And this gives form and substance to something that is spiritual and therefore outside the realm of the finite, outside the realm of space and time. And this fulfills v'halachta b'drachav, imitating, emulating HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When we read on Shmini Atzeret, Parshat Bereshit, we learn that Hashem took the nefesh, the spiritual, something that is beyond space and time, and contained it miraculously in the guf. Hashem also took the Shekhinah and contracted the Shekhinah, which is beyond this world, beyond space and time, and somehow contracted into the world Kaviyachol. In Kabbalah we call this tzimtzum, concealment, contraction. And by emulating Hashem in this way, right, by bringing that inspiration and kedusha into our lives in a real way, we are building and enhancing our kelim. If you have the kelim from last year's blessings, that's great. You're like, okay, I have last year's kelim. I've been working from last year. I can just rely on last year's kelim. That's not true, because this year's blessings maybe are beyond last year's kelim. So you need new kelim to expand your kelim to have an increased level of bracha. We all want more bracha than we had the past year and the year before that. And the only way to do it is to expand our kelim beyond what they were before, right? So we can contain new levels of blessing. And that, I think, is why Simchat Torah is part of Sukkot. What does Simchat Torah have to do with Sukkot? We celebrate the Torah again, right? Because we're starting now from Sefer Bereshit, we're starting anew. But we're really celebrating because we have new kelim, so that now we can understand the Torah on levels that thus far were out of our reach. I often chuckle to myself when girls tell me that they don't want to take a class on Parsha Bereshit or on Sefer Bereshit because they already did it in high school. But the reality is that now they're beyond high school. They're on a new level. They have new kelim, and they can get so much more out of it. They can realize a whole new level of understanding than they did in high school. So by expanding our kelim, we are able to receive the bracha that Hashem gave us in years past when we lacked the kelim to receive them. So even bracha that were made 5-10 years ago, but now by expanding our kelim, by deepening ourselves, by connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to Torah in a deeper way, by working on our midot, right, by working on our relationships, we can expand kelim to get blessings not just from this year, but even from years past. And that's the key of Sukkot, expanding our kelim. The Gemara Masechet Sukkah makes a seemingly very strange statement. It says that in the Torah it says, Kol Ezrach Yisrael Yeshu B'Sukkot, all the citizens of Am Yisrael should dwell in the Sukkah. But the Gemara says, well, we learn from this, Melamed Shekol Yisrael Ruin L'Sheb B'Sukkah Chat, that all of Am Yisrael should dwell in one Sukkah. How is that possible? It reminds me of a story that happened to me once when I was at my Rebbe, Rav Machlis' house. Rebbe Samachlis, unfortunately, is unwell, and Mir Hashem, she should have her Fuash Lema. Please have her in mind in your prayers. But I was once in their home at Friday nights, and they're notorious for their, they're famous for their amazing Shabbatot, hundreds of people. And I was there, I think about 130 people were at their meal. And we just finished Kiddush, and all of a sudden there's a knock on the door. And Rav Machlis says, come in. And there's 25 people at the door. And Rav Machlis says, come in, there's plenty of room. And everyone starts laughing. You joke, there's no space for anyone as it. Everyone's like squished together, like everywhere you look, the kitchen, everyone's filled with people. There's no room. And Rav Machlis goes to welcome them, and he whispers in my ear, please daven with me, the wall should expand. I'm like, okay. So we daven, the wall should expand. And I don't know how it happened. I didn't see walls moving, but somehow there was room for those people. And I said, Rebbe, explain to me how that happened, how those extra 25 people fit, how there was no room before. So Rav Machlis says, when there's love, there's room. And that's the teaching, I think, of the Beit HaMikdash also. It says in the Mishnah, Perkei Avot, Omdim Sufim Mishachravim Revachim, that one of the great miracles of the Beit HaMikdash, when they were standing, they were squished, but when they bowed down, so there was plenty of room, ample room for everybody. So the walls of Eretz Yisrael, the walls of Yerushalayim, the walls of our lives can expand with love. And that's part of the teaching of Sukkot, and the Ushpizin, the whole concept of Sukkot, Kol Ezrach Yisrael Yeshu B'Sukkot. The idea is that we have to expand our kelim, expand ourselves to include other Jews. When we are born, we're born with kelim to just care about ourselves. We're babies, we care only about ourselves, very selfish. But as we get older, hopefully we expand our kelim to include others. As you get older, you include your family and yourself. As we become teenagers, we learn to expand ourselves to include our friends. And when we get married, we expand our kelim to include our family, to include our spouse. And when we have children, we, Bezrat Hashem, expand our kelim to include them as well. And as we become adults and we grow spiritually, become more sophisticated in our spirituality, we aim to expand our kelim to include all of Am Yisrael. And that's Sukkot. Each day of Sukkot, we do a hakafa, one circling around the shul. And on the last day of Hoshana Rabbah, we do 7 hakafot. And just as the Kala does 7 hakafot around the Chatan under the chuppah, so do we. And Melanie said this minhag amazingly has its origins in the conquering of Yericho. They do one day around, and then another day, and then the 7th day, they go around 7 times, and then all the walls of Yericho come down. So Melanie said beautifully, that's what happens under the chuppah as well. The Kala goes around the Chatan 7 times, and all the walls between them fall down, and they become one. His kelim become her kelim become his kelim. And that's what we're doing. We're renewing our vows with Hashem. We're renewing our commitment to Torah and Yom Kippur. And then on Sukkot, we have the Sheva Brachot. where all the walls come down. We break down our walls to be able to include others and ourselves. Like a kala and a chatan of chuppah who become one, we expand ourselves to become one with others, to become one with our community, to become one with Am Yisrael, to become one with the whole world. And that's what Shlomo Carlebach taught. He said we expand our kelim not just to include all of Am Yisrael, but to include the whole world. And that's the reason for the teaching, Kol Ezrach Yisrael B'Yishuv B'Sukkah Achad, because we really should ideally sit under one sukkah by expanding ourselves to include others, to expand our kelim to include all of Am Yisrael, so our sukkah becomes plenty of room for all of Am Yisrael. And Rav Shlomo Carlebach adds, ideally we should expand ourselves to include all the world. A true tzaddik expands his or her kelim to include the whole world, and that's why in Sukkot we bring 70 korbanot for the 70 nations of the world, because that is the ideal notion. The whole world comes together, and that is maybe the vision of Mashiach, which Bezrat Hashem we will be able to celebrate, so we could see the great simcha of Simchat Beit HaShoeva in the Beit HaMikdash. We can realize the great vision of all of Am Yisrael staying together in one sukkah. The Beit HaMikdash is called a sukkah, Haparei Sukkat Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Amo Yisrael V'al Yerushalayim. Bezrat Hashem Harachamanu Yakim Lanu at Sukkat David Hanofalet. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will rebuild the Beit HaMikdash, the great sukkah in Yerushalayim Yer Kodesh, where we see each other again and celebrate together in Eretz Yisrael, where we are looking forward to having all of the Tiferet alumni back in Eretz Yisrael where you belong. Chag Samayach, everybody.